While I was doing all kinds of shenanigans online, I managed to bump into this particular news, and it's all about Avowed. It seems Obsidian is working on Avowed 2 with a new director, and this is a very interesting news to me for various reasons, which I will disclose later. But I would take it with a healthy dose of caution, because none of this has been officially confirmed by Xbox or Obsidian. Most of it comes from comments by former Obsidian co-founder Chris Avellone. And the important thing here is that he no longer works at the studio, but apparently still has connections there. So why am I interested in this news? Well, I played the game, I made a review about it, and you can check it out if you wanna. But long story short, it was pretty shit. I could go on and on about what was bad in that game, but it's safe to say that Avowed wasn't a blockbuster on a level of Skyrim. And don't get me wrong, when we saw initial trailers and reveals and whatever they dished out, the game had amazing potential. Not to mention, it was Obsidian who was making the game, and we all know what happened with Fallout New Vegas. That is how legendary that game became. And it's still, to this day, one of the greatest RPGs ever made. So when you actually started playing the game, it seems like we were heavily, and I mean it, heavily catfished. Because the game looked nothing like the trailers. Or at least it looked nothing like we thought. And there are many reasons for that. I think I also made a video about it, I don't really remember. More incentive for you guys to go through my channel and see what I was doing. But anyway, if you take a look how the game was developed under the previous leadership, new leadership may not be a bad thing. The new guy who's going to be the replacement has an excellent pedigree. He worked on Neverwinter Nights 2, Mask of the Betrayer, Dead State, Pillars of Eternity, and Tyranny. So if we take that as a reference point, Avowed 2 might lean more heavily into deep role-playing systems and stronger narrative design. However, considering what Avowed is now, that is what kind of turd we have in front of us, I am going to be extremely skeptical when it comes to this game. Because you know what they say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I believed Obsidian once that the game is going to be a good game, so that ain't gonna happen anymore. It's only when I see proper gameplay and gameplay features properly fleshed out, only then would I consider to buy it. But then again, considering I'm doing this review bullshit, and this is me speaking as a reviewer, I am actually kinda curious to see if they can fix what was bad with the first game. And there were a lot of things that didn't work there, let me tell you that. Also, I worry that a sequel is the easy answer here. This may sound harsh, but I wonder if Avowed 2 is being made because Microsoft needs franchises rather than because there was an overwhelming demand for another game. Yeah, there was an overwhelming demand for another game from the Pillars universe, but I can say with 100% certainty, nobody wants what Avowed was in the form of Avowed 2. My bet would be that people want what Pillars of Eternity 1 and Pillars of Eternity 2 was. At least that's my view, because I played both of those games and they were pretty good. And then you have Avowed as a comparison to the older stuff and oh my god, it's nowhere near good like the old stuff was. So I don't really know what's their angle here, but in the long run it doesn't matter. If they want to repeat history and make another shitty game, you know, by all means you can do that, nobody's stopping you. What I would do, however, is I would totally scrap Avowed to begin with. I would actually work hard for people to forget that game and focus making Pillars of Eternity 3. Because remember, sequels should exist because players overwhelmingly want more. Maybe the first game had incredible ideas that deserved expansion, or there's a passionate community demanding another entry. And I don't really see any of that with Avowed. The only time that I saw that people were saying that they cannot wait for Avowed 2, well, that was a very fringe minority. Probably people who don't know what a good game is, or people who have very low expectations. I mean, there's plenty of those, so what do I know? And if majority of people are saying the game is, you know, okay-ish, I think that is a weird foundation on which to build a franchise, especially when Microsoft is cutting costs and restructuring studios. Anyway, I will end this with two things. The first thing is that I think this reflects a bigger Xbox problem. Microsoft seems obsessed with manufacturing franchises instead of letting them emerge naturally. It kinda reminds me a bit of Ubisoft. But the point here is that not every game needs a sequel, and not every IP needs to be a trilogy. Sometimes a game comes out, receives a lukewarm response, and you basically move on. But instead, Xbox has spent years throwing money at projects, hoping one of them becomes the next Halo or Elder Scrolls. And meanwhile, some of their most interesting projects remain niche. The second thing that I would like to point out is I actually wonder if Obsidian's talents are being wasted here. Remember, this is the same studio that made Pentiment on a relatively tiny budget. And that game had more personality, artistic vision, and confidence than Avowed ever did. So in that sense, I would rather see, for example, Tyranny 2, a new isometric RPG, maybe some kind of a spiritual successor to New Vegas, or something completely original. And instead, we are getting something that many people already have forgotten. It's kinda interesting if I want to be cynical a bit, because this sounds less like Avowed was a success and deserves a sequel, and more like we spent years and millions creating this IP, so we have to keep going. And that is a sunk cost thinking. But I mean, okay, if Microsoft wants to burn money, by all means, do whatever you want. Just don't expect that people are going to flock to Avowed 2, unless you make it much, much better in comparison to what first Avowed was. And that's basically my take on this news. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And that's it from me, until the next one.